All right. Okay, cool. Right, folks. So it says we're live, but we're not. This is recording. So, right. So, hey, everyone. So this is the Arnold predictions, and I've got with me Joe, Webb, Ollie, Jackson, and I got Paulie. Paulie, you are new to the show, so you're like the guest of honor. These guys we're tired of these guys. So they're here all the time. So, but I think you and I first sort of started chatting at the Revive Stronger forums, right? Or maybe something like that on
a little
Facebook.
bit on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure.
So, and you're doing well. You've got your gifted performance coaching, right?
Yeah. I'm a coach
Awesome.
over at Gifted Performance. So
Fantastic.
that's been solid.
Brilliant. Awesome. Cool. All right, cool. So we're going to talk today about, I'll put everyone's social media in the show notes, but we're going to talk about the Arnold, which is happening tomorrow. And let's get into it. So here we go. We'll go into this. So this is the results from last year, just to kind of put it into perspective. Now, in terms of who's competing tomorrow, the highest in the list here is Kuklo. Then we've got Oliver, then Akeem, and that's it. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're looking at from last year. And just before you comment on that, let me just show you the Olympia results from last year as well. Make that a bit bigger. So obviously we've got Big Ramy up top. In terms of who's competing today, it's Akeem, who beat Ian, and then Justin Rodriguez right at the end. So initial thoughts?
I think this shows just how open this year is. We've got the top three missing, Bonac missing. He probably can't make the Olympia either. If he can't make the Arnold, would be my guess. And then Dexter gone as well. So if you look, all the others have definitely improved loads this year. They've all won shows. And yeah, the door's wide open. Anyone that wants it, I think, that we'll discuss today in the top six, I'd happily say any of those six could win this year.
Yeah. Paulie, in terms of improvements and like the off season, what with everything that's happened around the world, we've seen a lot of bodybuilders really delve into the off season and have fantastic long off seasons. Have you seen that with your guys? Is that generally how you've done things? You got into a big long off season, seen a lot of improvement?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been that way where I try to edge clients towards taking actual time off, because people are like, oh, they finish their show and then they say they want to take a year to improve or whatever, and then they pick a show that doesn't even give them a full year. It's like, oh, you got to start prep 4 to 6 months before that, so we get like 4 or 5 months of actual improvement phase going on, and we're still dealing with the effects of like whatever happened post diet the last time. So we're either ramping food up still, or we're like having to unfuck binges and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's how I've always been. And I don't know, man. I think it's really neat, though, you know, because I remember when COVID first started, like a lot of people were also forced to do longer preps because shows kept getting canceled and stuff. And I think like a lot of people realized like, oh, shit, I can like really dial things in if I have a little more time.
That was really cool. I remember that. I think, Joe, you and I talked about that. The longer preps, we had some really well-conditioned athletes. And the show that Nick won, I thought that was he was up against some pretty good competition there and roundabout in that sort of time. I totally remember that.
I think it's shown two different approaches, really. I think it's shown that for a lot of guys, they've been able to stay in condition for most of the year because they've been unsure when they will compete or it's been put off. And they've stayed in condition and still made improvements, like Nick Walker. But there's also, over time, there's been a lot of examples, and I find this very strange, of very high-level pros who you would assume have very, very good genetics, attempt to take multiple years off to really come back and make massive improvements. And they do that, and they come back and they're not actually that much improved. Most recent probably example was Blessing. And it's very strange to me how out of kind of the pool of top pros who are about at the moment, not all of them are managing to make consistent improvements year to year. Aside from, I'm not talking about improvements like they come in condition when they haven't before, like Akeem. I mean, someone like James Hollingshead has made quite good improvements to his actual physique.
Yeah.
But not all of them manage it. And I'd find that very interesting to know why. I don't know the reason why, but
yeah,
it happens with some of the guys that try to move up from 212. They try to take a long time, move up from 212, and they don't actually look that much better for it.
I think that's a great point. Yeah.
I imagine there's a couple of reasons for that. I think probably when you're at that level, it probably takes that much more to get the muscle necessary. But I also think there's definitely a limit on people's frames. To use your good example there of moving up from 212, some people move up from 212 and they really shouldn't. Like, the weight starts to go to their waist, doesn't look right. But then again, I guess you'd never know that until you try. So you'll probably find a couple of people trying to go up, adding 5 pounds, probably still being able to make the 2-on-2 limit, and it's just staying right fucking there.
I almost wonder if there's a maybe some sort of psychological component for some people, like taking that long of an off season and not having a target, maybe letting off the gas pedal in certain ways.
Yeah.
And taking things a little less seriously, or maybe just like staying soft that long. Because when you stay really soft for a long time, and I don't know, I mean, a lot of these guys stay in wonderful shape, but sometimes it's harder to tell if you're actually improving,
Yep.
So maybe just kind of having these long periods of time where they're not really sure, but they're like, oh, scale weight's moving up. And then they finally lean down and don't have much to show for it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've wondered if people don't realize, but pulling their weight down periodically every year for a show and then being forced to have some downtime afterwards actually is necessary for long-term progress. I know if I tried to stay pushing my weight up for 2 or 3 years straight, it would become less and less and less productive. But if I mix in periods where I pull down or I have a rest or I back off, I can kind of keep that movement going.
Yeah, because Joe, what are you weighing at now?
About 242.
You're pretty lean, 242. Yeah, and you
From
came
like
down.
4.
You came down to, I think you came down a little bit in December time, right?
Yeah, so last year I got up to about 255, and then I came down to about 230 to 232, and then I went up to about 264 in May earlier this year. Then I had a bit of a break, held between 250 and 255, and now I've come down to like 240 to 242 at the moment.
Yeah, I think you've had a really good push this year. So I remember at the end of last year speaking to you, and you were like, this is, we're starting to grind into a wall. But pulling your weight down has worked really well for you.
I'm noticing more and more. It feels to me like the bigger I get, the more important it is to periodically pull back and keep good condition. I know when I was a teenager, drug-free teenager, I would have to diet. I could diet and then push my weight up for 2 years, and I'd do it very slow. But I wasn't very big, so pushing my weight up then meant my calories weren't super high, and there's not a lot of resistance there. And I think that the more and more resistance there is from your body and the harder you're having to push to get that weight on, the more important it is to stay sensitive as far as appetite and body composition and all that stuff. Is what I'm finding for myself anyway.
I think a lot of things in the body are cyclical. I mean, I know with training, pushing hard for a few weeks followed by a little bit of a kind of a pull back, if not a full deload, tends to work pretty well. So I still do that with my clients as well. Tell you what, we'll go and have a look at sort of some of the. I split it up into a top 5 because we don't have Bonac anymore, right? So I thought top 5, and let me know if you guys disagree and if you want anyone else placed in this top echelon that we'll pick through. But I had Akeem, Nick.
Is this for the Arnold or the Olympia?
This for the Arnold.
Okay.
Yeah. So Akeem, Nick, Ian, Sergio, and Max. Now, in terms of outside of that top 5, there's Justin Rodriguez, Hassan Mustafa, Mohamed El Imam, Max, and Song Chul, right?
Is Nathan not doing the Arnold now then?
Nathan's doing the English Arnold.
Ah, okay. He's not on the list.
Only person I'd add is Kuklo, Dark Horse.
Yeah.
You'd have Kuklo in there. I think so.
I think,
well, I'd say Kuklo is, as of the other week, almost right neck and neck with Ian.
Yeah, exactly.
People are seeing Ian as a top contender. So,
and he needs to win this show to be at the Olympia this year. So hopefully that gives him that extra little bit of nudge.
It's a C.
Definitely not it.
It's KUC.
KUC. Oops. Like that? Oh, there he is. I thought I had him up before. All right. So let's stick him in there as well. Okay. So in terms of just these bodybuilders going through them, Song Chul Lee, bodybuilder Chul, does he have any kind of chance at breaking the top 5? What do you think?
Not yet for me. I think he's very impressive and very nice shape. Just that age-old concern of just needs a bit more time. We don't really know him yet, and he's been significantly behind the rest of the pack in the show or shows he has done. Was it just lower body conditioning he missed out on last time? Maybe he's still figuring that out.
Yeah, he's tall, right? Is he like 6 foot? I thought he was pretty tall, but he's massive.
It is.
Yeah, but look at Akeem. Akeem has been the biggest guy in a lot of shows for a long time, but never won until he got in condition.
Yeah.
He I haven't looked at this guy's photos in a while, but his back is pretty weak too, right? Or no?
Yeah, I think it is. Let's have a look. We've got a back pose here.
It's pretty typical too for Asians to have just weaker lats.
Excellent legs.
Yeah, I mean he's impressive. Like when I heard he was like Korean, I was like, no way, dude. Koreans don't get that big. We don't get that big.
I lived out in Korea for a while, and some of those guys in those gyms were huge. I remember, like, holy shit, how big are you? Yeah, he's a big boy.
He looks good, but I don't think he's a threat to the top 5 personally.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I think I have him in last or second to last place.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty dead cert last. See, after that, it gets a bit more shady because we've got. I don't know. I'm gonna set this guy up for like maybe in the lower sort of tier as well, which is insane because he is awesome. But I don't see him doing a great deal. So what do you guys think of Hassan Mustafa?
Well, he's done 7 shows this year and has been in condition for 0 of them.
Yeah,
maybe this is the show. Like, never say never. But phenomenal frame, amazing amount of muscles. The quads are fantastic, and he's actually quite pretty to look at as well, from a bodybuilding standpoint. But as soon as he turns around and the hams glutes just on there, that flies on the placings.
Yeah, massive lack of conditioning. It makes him look small next to like guys like Max Charles. Yeah, it was like Big Ramy. Once he dials it in, he'll be winning shows. But right now, we've just not seen it, which is a damn shame.
I think it's pretty apparent that the IFBB in general want to send a clear message that they're not rewarding the guys that come in with the biggest size, regardless of everything else. i.e. they're rewarding more either condition and or shape, which this guy will win on neither.
Yeah, and he seems to be getting worse. Like Ollie was saying, it's not his conditioning is not improving at the more shows he does. Like a guy like Ian, who says all the time like he gets better the more shows he does back to back. Whereas Mustafa's starting to look a bit tired now. I just don't see him making much of an impact. It'd be great to be proven wrong because I think he's got great potential.
I mean, he's got potential to have a similar presence to Ramy, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
He's got some of the best body parts, but he's just not brought it yet. A little bit like Lionel Bayeki.
Yeah.
Don't say his name. He'll probably never compete again. I don't know what's wrong with him.
Yeah. Great physique though. Paulie, what do you think of Hassan?
It's absolutely wild, dude. He's just a fucking ball of meat. But yeah, I mean, the conditioning is just not really there.
Which is a damn shame. But I think, yeah, he's another one we can probably move on from. Now it gets even harder as we go up the ranks because this guy, Mohamed El Imam, he had a tremendous showing in his last show, and he's absolutely massive. He said on the Fuad Abiad's podcast that he's only actually been training for about 5 or 6 years, which is insane. Yeah, I know. You see the thickness.
I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of him before, but he looks good.
Does he have more contest photos on his page?
He's been like 5th or 6th at maybe 4 or 5 shows this year, I'd say.
Let's have a look at this.
Like that second tier, he's been knocking on the door for a while. Just this season, I think.
He looks like he would present a physique that was massive and hard, but not pretty.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he looks amazing, man. Like, I hate like talking shit about like bodybuilders that are like, and like way better than I'll ever be. But I mean, he's definitely not as pretty as like a lot of guys that compete these days. And even though he's so massive, you know, his physique just has some gaps in it, you know, like between his quads and, you know, I don't know, just not the prettiest physique, but definitely impressive.
Yeah, he's managed to blow his waist out pretty well in like just 5 or 6 years. That I don't think is in his favor, especially from what Joe was saying in terms of conditioning these days, which is being rewarded. I think his arm sizes. Yeah, right. Especially the Arnold. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Arnold's the guy who kicked it all off. And his arm size relative to his shoulders kind of reminds me a little bit of Justin Rodriguez. And that's always the complaint against him. When he does a front clasp, his arms just go to nothing, and his delts and chest really overpower him, which doesn't look great. It's kind of like Marcus Rule used to be. Marcus Rule wasn't known for his triceps, you know. That was always a weakness.
Yeah,
in terms of placings,
good.
7th to 8th, something there. Not outside the top 6 for sure, but it still kind of shows how deep that this show is. Like I said, he's been coming. I think it's 4th to 6th, maybe 4 or 5 shows this year. And there's just that many good guys at this show. It's just going to push him down a little bit. That's all. Nothing. No knock on him. Even if he comes in as his best ever, I still see that sort of 7th, 8th placing for him.
As a bodybuilding fan, this show's great. You know,
best show of the year.
Yeah, 100%. Really is. Paulie, you agreed with that? Like maybe like in the lower echelon, maybe above bodybuilder Chul.
Wait, what? What's the question?
Are you agreed with his placing being more like last 3 or 4?
Oh yeah, I definitely don't see it being up there. I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with it. And sometimes it's so hard to tell, man, because like you see these photos and these Instagram updates and like them do it. They're checking photos alone, and then you see them on stage, and you're like, oh shit, things are like different now. You know?
Yeah, I hope so. It'd be good. Now next, I'm going to bring up Max Charles. I remember the first time I saw Max's physique a couple of years ago. It was maybe it was in the Olympia or something. But I just remember thinking they're really sleeping on this guy. But the more I see him, actually, the less I like his physique, because I think he's great from the front. Abs are probably some of the best in the Olympia, but he goes to nothing from the back, and his legs tend to not be that defined. So it just shows like quite a lot of gaps. His structure is amazing, though. He's relatively tall. He's very, very wide. He's got really, really broad shoulders. So he's got an amazing shape. But there's areas where he's lagging, and he's not really improved that much, which is a shame.
I think he will round out. He will be the bottom of the big names.
Yeah,
I think he will beat all the guys we've just spoken about before. But I don't think he can stand next to some of the bigger names who we're going to go on to and beat them.
No.
I agree completely. I like his physique. Out of all of them, he's might even be the one I'd want to look like, if I'm honest. I can't put my finger on exactly what he needs to improve. I don't think he's got lots of room for a lot more size. His conditioning is decent from memory. I think his quads and maybe legs in general, little bit down compared to the others. And I think maybe he just doesn't stand out. I think once again, like you said, Paulie, it's hard to criticize these guys because look at him, he's fucking brilliant. Yeah. But when we're comparing him to the others, he's just not quite there. And I think that's been apparent this year, even though I can't quite describe it too well. Why?
I think it's the definition in the legs for me. His legs go to nothing on stage, or at least they have in the past, because he's not managed to get the definition there. And so if you're smooth or smoother on stage, you'll just look small. From his top half from the front looks insane. Like, it's just amazing. You can't help but being drawn to his physique from the top and front, but the rest is more questionable. I think that's where he loses.
I went off screen for a minute. Did we see like his any front relax or anything like that?
Yeah, let's have a look.
And his back and stuff.
Check this out. From the front, striations, abs look great.
He's got a lat spread there if you go 2 to the left.
Here we go. Yeah.
Because I looked at some contest photos. I just searched his name in MPC just now. And I don't know. They could be super old photos. But he just doesn't have like the greatest shape. And it's more specifically when it comes to like his lats and stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of brings his physique down pretty hard.
Yeah, I think so. Let's try and find a real lat spread if he's posted one. This is on his page, so he might not have posted one. Oh, there we go.
This is what I notice with a lot of his pictures, especially these sort which are fairly close to the competition, but they're still a few weeks out. He looks very bubbly and round, and he has that cartoonish fullness on the triceps, the delts, even the lats, but it doesn't really translate on stage.
No. Yeah, I think he looks softer on stage. I think that's the big sort of negative with him, particularly from the back and the legs. Front up top all seems to look amazing.
Scroll up real quick, closer to the first one. Keep going. Yeah, that front relaxed.
Here, this one.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like that's like the one sort of missing thing in his physique that would bring it out so much more, as if his lats were a little bigger and just covered more space from the front.
High insertions.
Front double. It makes his front double look kind of weak too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I'd agree with that placing. Ahead of none of the top guys, but
maybe
below.
like 7th.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Just below all the guys we're about to talk about. Basically,
definitely.
So it's quite ordering.
So next up, I've got Justin Rodriguez, which seems insane because didn't he win a show last year or the year before?
Yeah, he won a show this year.
Yeah.
I haven't really followed this guy, so I don't have that much of an opinion on him, really.
Yeah, he's not that outspoken.
That is a nasty front double.
Yeah. He's huge. I think the knock on Justin is his conditioning, and his stomach tends to get a bit blown out. So that was the difference between him and Nick Walker when they competed with each other. And I think Nick, is that right? Nick beat him at the New York show, right? And that was the complaint. So Nick had a much tighter midsection, plus he was more conditioned. So next to Justin, there was no contest.
Yeah, I think he holds the shots pretty well, but I think it was more moving from shot to shot. He was letting their stomach relax quite a bit, which obviously they're huge on not doing at the moment. But yeah, I mean the pictures look fantastic. I think he'll place one ahead of Max. I think he'll beat Max. And then below, like we said, the rest of the guys are about to speak about.
Do you definitely think he'll beat Sergio? Any of you?
Him? No. You know what I don't like about his physique is this pose here. His triceps go to nothing. he's got such ridiculous delts, chest and traps, and he's got really good biceps, but I think his triceps just lack. They've got that sort of Marcus Rule look, where they look smaller relative to his delts and his chest. I think there's a bit of an imbalance there, which doesn't translate well to the stage because it makes his arms look small, which they're not. They're enormous, but
yeah, I still think they look nasty. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, he does have some very prominent biceps and stuff, but yeah, I don't know.
What if he's more conditioned than Sergio?
I
think it could be close to them too.
Yeah.
Sergio is such a big question mark, though, isn't it? It's like we've not seen much of him.
Am I right in thinking Sergio's had times where he's not been in condition before? Or am I getting that wrong?
I think he had one show where he wasn't quite there, and I think it was the Olympia actually. Bad timing.
He gets a lot of shit though because he is Sergio's son, right? High expectations.
Yeah. Well,
but no, like his last placing was amazing.
Okay. Yeah, well, his pro history is he's won the New York Pro, and then he's won 2 other shows. I think he got like 12th or 13th at the Olympia. And then last year's Arnold, he got 5th, I believe. Kuklo beat him, and then 3 household names beat him. But the Sergio does improve like year on year. So yeah, this.
The
waistline just doing. Do you think he'd be better off just hitting the pose normally? Like I see a lot of people twisting the poses into classic these days, and my personal preference is not that, but that's just me.
I think he could probably go.
Sorry, I kind of agree with Ollie. I think in most circumstances, hitting it normally looks better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It depends on the person. He could probably go either way because his waist appears to be so small that it would still look small head on, you know? I do really like this pose on him, and I like the kind of classic twist on it. I'd like to see his legs in the standard front double, though. I mean, maybe there's a reason why he's hitting it. And that's one thing I would say about this pose and looking at this photo is that kind of can hurt some people. Like, even though his arms are so big and he has very, very, very short femurs, so it kind of like makes his legs look a little smaller too, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what I've seen with him is if he's not completely in shape, that waist tends to get very large very quickly, particularly if he's standing next to someone who's very conditioned, like a lot of them have been in the last year. But yeah, I mean, he's absolutely enormous.
Who do we think will, out of these lot, have the best conditioning?
Ian.
I wonder if Steve.
Yeah, Steve is a good shout too. Steve doesn't post much, which is, quite interesting. I think Steve was a smidge level below Ian in conditioning in their last show. You assume both would improve?
Yeah, I mean, Steve's had some time off, so could help.
Can we see, I think right under this photo is a back shot, or go up?
This one?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like back, like width and size, it's a little weak there.
Yeah, the hamstrings are quite narrow.
That's something I feel like the back is like one of the most common weak points in bodybuilding, and just really just hurts so many people, you know?
I know that from personal experience.
Huh?
So I know that from personal experience.
Yeah, because I mean, you can hide it in a lot of poses and look really great, and then you turn around or you hit the wrong pose, and it's just like, oh man, what happened?
Yeah, for sure. I think that will be punished with the likes of like Ian, Akeem, Nick, especially the improvements Nick's made in his back. I mean, any kind of weakness in this lineup is going to be exposed. So in terms of placings for Justin, I'm thinking top 6, just sitting about there. What do you guys think?
6th or 7th, depending on how many people we still have to talk about for me.
Yeah.
I think he will beat Max this show. Is my guess.
I think so.
So we've got 5 more to talk about. Paulie, where would you put him?
Sixth then.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm trash at putting numbers on things. I'm gonna go with what you guys go with.
Yeah, 6th. Okay.
I'm
Like if I
waiting.
followed bodybuilding a little more closely, it'd probably help, you know.
Yeah.
But
Well, you got 2 weeks till the next one. We're going to do the Olympia as well. So now top 5. I'm going to start in no order, but just going to start with Kuklo, just because he's there. I'm going to say just from the off, and I might come around to regret this, but I'm not a fan of Kuklo's. I've seen him on more than one occasion where his midsections look washed out. He is enormous, but he gets made to look small by guys who have got better proportions and are in better condition. Yeah, part of that is how I feel, but also part of that is I feel I want to take a contrary stance to everyone, being the show host. So, but that's my sort of opinion on Steve right now.
I think you don't like him because you think he's a Chad. I think he'll come 3rd.
All right.
Really? Okay.
Well, I know a couple of people whose opinion I really respect that genuinely have him first. Because he has that extra little bit of motivation, maybe because, like I said, he needs to win this show to be at the Olympia. He gets second, he doesn't go this year. It's quite that simple. I think he could sneak into the top 3, top 4. I don't think he's got first. I don't think he'll beat Ian. And I don't. Oh fuck! It's hard, isn't it? I think 3rd is quite fair for him.
I think the unique thing with Kuklo, which you probably can't say for any of the others actually, is if you disregard condition, if you assume he's going to be in very good condition, it's hard to pick out anything that he's missing. Whereas most of the other guys, you can pick out something that they're missing. So
I can pick
Walker is missing quad sweep, and I would say
he's missing quad sweep.
And honestly, I think that's kind of like my biggest and only criticism of Steve, is that like he's an amazing bodybuilder. He looks good, and I want to like him, and I do like him. There's something about Steve. You just want to like him. I don't know. He has a good smile or something.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. Yeah. Like you do want to like the guy and you want him to do well, but also like, even though he's a great bodybuilder and he looks fantastic, and I can't say much like negative about his physique, there's nothing really like amazing or memorable about him, in my opinion, at least,
I agree with that. I mean, it doesn't have anything standing out. But
he said he was 284 pounds.
What's that?
Sorry, I was just saying he was 284 pounds in that picture, so it's not like he can get that much bigger.
He's quite tall, isn't he? Maybe he's still slightly filling out his frame, you could say, although he is at that upper level.
I would never tell somebody who's like 284 that like, you still just got to fill out your frame, dude.
I know. It's terrible, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, Joe, what were you saying before?
I just said I agree. He's not got anything. He's not got any one body part that stands out as better than everybody else's. But to me, he also doesn't have anything that's a glaring weakness behind all the rest of him. He could have more quad sweep, of course. But I don't look at his physique straight away and think, he's missing quad sweep, which is what I think when I see Nick Walker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've said that before. I think with Kuklo's height, I think it's difficult to fill out his legs. So he doesn't have those really bulbous legs, which someone like an Ian does. So I think that's my criticism of Steve. But yeah, no, a fantastic bodybuilder. I mean, 284 pounds, huge. Now we are in the top 5, so placing is going to be a lot harder. I don't know. Do you want to give a preliminary answer and then maybe roll back to it?
That's what I was going to say.
At the end for a roundup.
A prelim answer, and then we'll all give ours at the end. I've got him 3rd, and I think Sergio and Ian will beat him. I think he'll beat Nick. I think this is Nick's first real test, and I still think he'll do amazing. But 4th, 5th, I think, for Nick. And I think Kuklo is a strong 3rd.
Okay. Joe, what are you going with?
I think 3rd.
Yeah. Paulie?
I could see him being anywhere in the top 3, I think.
Okay. I'm going to go 6th place. I'm going with
Nice.
it.
You really don't like this guy.
He's trying to rile us up.
Right. So next up, I'm going to go with Sergio. Only, again, not in order, but only because we've not seen him for a while. However, I'm a big fan of Sergio. I think he's got a great physique. He's bloody massive in terms of his frame. And I think he looks bigger in terms of more sort of round muscle bellies than Kuklo. So head-to-head against Kuklo, I think Sergio would come out on top. That's
I think for me, the reason why Sergio is the dark horse and could easily win this show is the Arnolds, they actually genuinely mark posing. He is the best poser on this stage by a country mile. And he got 5th last year. 2 people in front of him aren't in this show, and I actually thought he beat Kuklo last year. And I believe Sergio will have improved more than Kuklo this year, just because he's younger. I think it's one of his first real off seasons where he's actually been committed the entire year. I think he'll be 10 pounds bigger with just as good or better conditioning. And I think I don't want to say it's his show to win because there's a lot of other good people, but he really has a great opportunity here for me. I think that
I'm trying to find some pictures of him on stage next to other bodybuilders to show just the size of him.
I mean, he's quite tall, so he's bigger than he looks in photos.
He I don't know, man. There's something about his physique that I've never really. He's just never really been a favorite bodybuilder of mine. You know, like he has like really long arms, and he has high lat insertions, which I think does him some favors in terms of like making his waist look good. But at the same time, I don't know, like it's like it looks small, but it also looks kind of blocky at the same time. Like he has some bigger obliques kind of. And because he has those high lat insertions, like I think he'd look better with a bigger back probably.
Yeah.
I think where he's with Sass, that was the last time I saw him or really came across him.
Yeah, I think he looks better against other people. It's kind of like the Jay Cutler effect. Like Jay looks amazing on his own, but you put him next to other competitors and he's just so much bigger than them all, and he just blows them out of the water. So he's kind of got that look. In individual photos, I think he looks better on stage than he does in individual shots.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I need to see him on stage.
I mean, Sass is amazing as well, but
yeah, it definitely wasn't the best photo to prove your point.
I miss Sass. I wish he was competing still. I'd put him easily.
He's a great physique. Yeah.
The guy just doesn't like bodybuilding, which it's a shame because he's so good.
He's insane. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, height and also a fair bit of mass. I mean, look at his quads next to Dexter. It's insane. And I think I remember now actually when Kukla went up against Sergio, I think that's what was really evident for me was Kukla's quads really lacked against Sergio, and they were roughly the same height, so they were pitting them together a lot, and Sergio outclassed him in that area, I think, and conditioning. Right, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you for your predictions. So we are now down to, there's 3 more to go after this. I've said Kuklo's going to be 6th-ish. I'm going to put Sergio, it's going to have to be about 5th or 4th, I think, just because the rest of the lineup is so strong.
Top 3 for me.
Top 3.
I'll go all in and say first.
Nice. Your top 3 is getting quite bloated now, though, Ollie. You've not got many options left.
Yeah, I've already done it. Sergio, Ian, and we just said Kugler. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Paulie, what do you think?
I'd probably put him bottom 2 too, but I don't know. I'm kind of biased. I'm just not a fan of physique.
Fair.
Yeah, that's fair. He's your Kuklo.
All right.
Yeah, we all have a Kuklo, eh?
Joe, what are you thinking?
Third or fourth.
Yeah.
Him or Kuklo, one third and fourth, I would say. And to be honest, I didn't know that much about him, and from the pictures you've shown, he was better than I thought he was. So, yeah, you know what? I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
In my head, I had, Kuklo is going to be in better condition than this guy. That's why I had him ahead of him. But actually, that might not well be the case. So,
I mean, to be fair, I don't think he doesn't compete that much, and he's had a lot of stuff going on, so you've not had many chances to see him on stage. I was just very impressed with his last outing. So if we move on to, let's go and look at Nick now, just because very high quality physique, but he's still quite new. I don't know. It's a difficult one to place Nick, I think, because he's won the New York Pro, which is insane, the third biggest show in bodybuilding. He beat Justin Rodriguez there, and beat him fairly convincingly as well, I'd say. Plus, since then, he has made such dramatic improvements in a lot of the areas which we were talking about just now, really affect your placing in bodybuilding, such as the back and the quad sweep, which he was lacking before. I think he's improved that quite a lot. I think Nick could well walk away with the show.
Wow.
I think he's that good.
My thing with Nick is he's a lot of fun to look at, dude, and he's like up and coming, and he's like he's just so odd looking. He's just a stumpy dude, you know. I mean, but yeah, I don't know. He looks great. I'd love to have a physique like him, and that's another thing about Nick's physique, and like I guess the strong difference between him and Kuklo is that like if you were told to draw the perfect physique, it would probably look something more like Steve's. You would never draw this guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
you'd probably draw Sergio.
Yeah.
Really.
Fuck that.
Yeah, you personally would not draw Sergio, but some of us might. See, with Nick, I think he's going to be very good. I think he is very good. I think the quad sweep will hurt him in this show because of how good everyone else's quads are. He could get through on conditioning, to be fair, and squeeze into the top three. But I know he's improved his waist a lot, and for him it's great. But compared to others, I think that will look blocky. And then he hasn't, apart from Justin, he hasn't beaten anyone worth screaming about. So this is genuinely his first real test, in my personal opinion, which is quite harsh because he's a New York Pro win. But like I said, so he's beaten someone we've put 7th or 6th.
Yeah.
And like this show is perfect to see where he is on that sort of scale. I know it's
I don't really remember why the lineup was that weak, at the New York Pro.
COVID, the time of year, and I think a lot, and it was in Tampa as well. It wasn't even in New York, so it was.
Yes.
That's my take on it. Anyway, he's got a lot of very good body parts.
I think his rear double is his strongest pose.
Yeah,
his legs look wicked from the back. His back has improved a lot, and his shoulders and arms are very dominant.
The density for a 26 or 27-year-old or whatever the hell he is, yeah.
I mean, he's absolutely fucking freaky. Like, yeah, it just doesn't even make sense. Like, he'll probably be like one of the freakiest people, No,
1,000,000,000%. Yeah.
I think he'll always do decently well too, like just because of that.
I think he has that advantage of being it is the Arnold, and they have been really rating the guys who've got tight midsections highly, and his abs look insane. Like maybe his waist is a little bit like genetically wide, like Jay's was, but his abs are ridiculous. Like he's not washed out ever. He's always looking fresh and crisp. That counts for a lot, I think.
He's getting much better than his present.
Does he show up that crisp and dry?
Yeah.
His conditioning is
insane, dude. His conditioning is crazy.
And it's improved, doesn't it, show to show?
Yeah.
Yeah. He won his pro card after only 4 or 5 shows, I believe. So he's still relatively young in his. I mean, obviously he's young, but young in his competing career. So they're definitely making good improvements show to show. Probably just figuring out his body. Probably can't be easy when you're going to compete at 280 pounds to dial it in, land the plane, or whatever is the latest saying that everyone's using at the moment.
Drop the hammer.
Dropping the hammer, ticking the boxes.
I tell you what, UK bodybuilders are dropping the hammer is great. So many hammers being dropped. It's like Screwfix around here.
I can't stand it. It kills me every time.
But yeah, I mean, just he's improved his shape massively. So I'd love to. I can't wait to see what he looks like on stage next to other people of the quality of Ian and Kuklo and whatnot. I think he's got every chance of winning. Yeah, and we've got 2 more guys to talk about. So
what placing are you going to say then?
I'm going to go for the W on this. I think he can win.
Fair fucks. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I doubted him previously in the New York Pro simply because we hadn't seen him next to other people, and I thought he was going to come 4th or 5th, honestly, and I was completely wrong about that. And so when we did see him next to other people, he just demolished everyone. So it says a lot, I think. So we've seen him. He looks amazing on Instagram. Great work ethic, great attitude, just a very likable person. He's always been so open about his past, and he's got a good image for the Olympia. But on top of that, you put him in a lineup, and yes, it wasn't as deep a lineup as this, but he next to other people, he just made him look out of shape, and also made him look small. That says a lot, I think. I think he's got the Jay Cutler effect. Just makes everyone look small around him.
I'm going to put him 5th, to be honest. Sorry, and I the thing is, I genuinely like him as well. I've
not sold him with that spiel.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry to come in and just fucking chop that right down. So I have the 3 taller guys definitely beating him, and then I have him and Akeem fighting for 4th.
Right.
I think Akeem might have Akeem's got a bigger frame, maybe a little bit more muscle. Nick will probably beat him on the conditioning. So yeah, maybe 4th. Then he might be ahead of Akeem for me.
Nick will beat Akeem from the back, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Size. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Joe, what are you thinking about Nick?
2nd.
Yeah.
I think he will definitely beat Akeem. I think he will beat Kuklo, but I don't think they'll give him the win. Not on his first try, not when he's young, and not when he's missing sweep on his legs.
I think I'd have him.
Go on, Polly.
I think I'd have him top 3, maybe not quite 1st, but I don't want to say like he can't, you know. But I don't know, 2nd or 3rd probably.
Do you not think that would make for a great story?
I would like him to win.
Do you not think it'd make for a great story though? You know, you're talking about how they wouldn't let him win. Wouldn't it make for such a great story for an Olympian to go off a pro win, for, in his pro debut, to winning the Arnold, to then on to the Olympia? Wouldn't that really build up the? I mean, it's not obviously it's the judging's fair, but I'm just saying from that angle, if we're talking about that angle of not letting him win, I think it's actually a good story.
Oh yeah, I would love to see him win, and I would like him to. I'm just being objective about it. I think I'd put him about 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I give no shits about that, like it being a good story. But I will say, like, I don't know, there's something about him, like he's just like a little kid or something, and you just want like good things to happen.
Yes,
you know? Is that little ray of innocence in him?
Yeah, look at this shot here, that back double.
Yeah,
that's an old one as well. That
it is.
Before he turned pro.
This was before leaving for North Americans. This is when he turned amateur. He went up against Chris, didn't he? Yeah.
His rear double is nasty, and I feel like a rear double is a pose that like it's tough to really look good in for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. This was his New York win when he beat Justin.
See, this kind of proves my point. Justin wasn't the best at this show, and he got 2nd. So, this is Nick's real test, to be honest.
Very true.
Like, although I have him 4th or 5th, like if he won, it wouldn't surprise me. Not in the slightest. But even here, do his quads look weak? Maybe. Detailed to fucking hell. Yeah, Christ. I'd kill for that adductor condition right there. But if your quads are looking weak against Justin, imagine his against Ian's, Akeem's, Sergio's.
Yeah.
It's a big.
You know who had that ridiculous adductor conditioning? Chris Cormier, back in the day. He had sick adductors.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just has that short femur thing going for him too, like short femur, long torso. Takes away from the legs a little bit.
Yeah. So, Paulie, did we get your prediction? Where do you place them?
It was somewhere around top three, top 4. I mean, maybe even second. But I don't know about first, but I wouldn't say it's impossible either.
Yeah. All right. So next we've got 2 more, and we'll go with Ian. Ian. His conditioning is insane. We're all used to seeing his butt shots now on social media.
I've seen this guy's arse more than my own this year.
Yeah, conditioning is crazy. If you look at the top right there, the low back, pulling away from the lats, the vascularity on the lower lats there, and the glutes are just detailed to fuck. So insane. There's not much to criticize on Ian, I'd say.
I'm a big fan, personally. I've been for a while. Top 2, could easily win, could easily beat Sergio. Not easily, but I think with Bonnock being out, like, he has so many good shots, no real weakness. Maybe structure isn't the prettiest if we're being as harsh as possible, but like that is like, he's young too. He's 30, 31. It's a lot of fucking dense, conditioned, grainy muscle to have at
That's insane.
Not even the peak of his bodybuilding career.
Oh.
He's probably got 8 years left in him at least if he wants, assuming he's not got a training age of 20.
Do we have some unfiltered stage shots on his Instagram?
Let's have a look.
No. Oh, is that one first?
Did you say no?
His no, yeah. His side tricep is exceptional, I think, because he manages to get his waist looking like nothing, and his quad sweep and hamstring pop is insane.
Isn't it crazy that his triceps are lagging and his side tricep is one of his strongest shots?
Yeah.
It's so sharp.
It's insane.
Look at that leg.
Yeah.
That is why I have him beaten Nick, really.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think Nick's beaten Ian. I really don't.
And this is one of those instances where, like, I want to agree with you guys, but, like, I just got to see them standing on stage next to each other. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's the case with all of them. And that's the point with this Arnold, isn't it? That actually we're all a bit unsure of how each of them will fare when they're next to each other.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there are some we know for sure. Like that Akeem guy, like, definitely not top 5, dude.
Akeem?
The first
Max.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Max.
Yeah. Akeem's coming next. I think he's another guy who could win it. But I mean, what in terms of like weak points on Ian, what do you guys see? Like, where could he go wrong, or not even go wrong? Where could he just be? He could present his best package on the day and be beaten.
Does he have some more like rear doubles and other shots?
Yeah, let's have a look.
His back's not weak, is it?
No.
I know his lat spread is great.
He's grainy.
There's some pictures of him with Kukla below that.
Hey, yes. Insane detail there. That's crazy.
It's a very good top 3, that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, from everyone we've looked at so far, I think he's a great bodybuilder, dude. You know, like
You could just stare at this, couldn't you? Fucking hell.
Yeah. I will say this is where, if you look at the conditioning on Kuklo, this is where I think in his midsection there, he looks a bit more smoothed out relative to Ian and I forget this guy's name. But he's in great shape. He's, fucking fantastic, right? But relative to guys these days who are absolutely diced, I think Kuklo's got to take it up a notch. That's what I'm thinking. After we discussed the whole past year and stuff, people have been doing longer preps and getting really, really dialed in. I think that's where he could be exposed. He's kind of old school.
He's apparently 4 pounds lighter than he was here in the gym at the moment. Okay. So he might have got off that extra couple of pounds.
Some people are just like that too, man. Like some people are just grainy,
Yeah. Ian's always been somewhat grainy. Even when he won his pro card as like 22 and a heavyweight, he had some grain. So many butt pics.
Quads there. Look at that. That's insane. Huge.
Oh, you know what? I'm putting him ahead of Sergio. Ian to win. Yeah.
Ian for the win. All right. Ian for the win from Ollie.
I was flip-flopping those two, but I think Ian might be the guy to beat,
I think he's definitely got a lot of momentum coming in. He won his last show. So
he's won the last two. He won two. He won the Tampa, not the Tampa. He did win that the year before. The Texas and the one that was the week before.
He could well win, definitely.
It's crazy too. Like if you go to that front lat spread that's right next to this photo, like he has such a good back, but like his fucking arms and delts are so big that like you don't even notice his lats in his front lat spread. Like,
that's insane.
His biceps are covering most of the lat.
Yeah, that is crazy. He packs so much muscle onto that frame. Yeah, I think he could definitely win. And the thing about Ian is he seems to have managed to work out his peak as well. He had this one show, I forget it was last season or the season before, where he ended up looking really flat and they made him look small and out of shape. And his chest looked really strange when he hit that pose. Don't know if you remember that one.
It was the first show him and Patrick Tor worked together.
Yes. And he's figured it out now. Yeah, so he comes in shape every time.
I think it was Tampa and he got second. Right. I forget who to, but he came back 2 weeks later and won New York. So it would have been last year. Oh, he lost to Hunter, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah. He was very confident about that. He lost. Yeah.
And then he came back and beat Hunter at the Olympia last year.
I mean, what a comeback. He did great.
Hunter will never beat him again.
This is where he won his pro card, I think.
Okay. Great physique.
22 or 23. So it was definitely destined for some greatness.
I hate seeing photos like that. Doesn't that make you feel like such a piece of shit? That somebody can like go from that to what he is now?
Yeah, it's crazy.
The other way,
the amount of progress.
I like seeing photos like this because it reminds me to stay in my fucking lane, work on my career, work on my masters, because I'm not going to be a fucking bodybuilder.
All right, so final predictions for Ian. Ollie, you've got him winning it. Paulie, have you had yours?
I could see him winning it, man. I feel like top two for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like if it's a really bad day for him and he like misses his peak or something, like I don't know, maybe third but I could see him doing top two, maybe first.
Yeah, I'd say it's going to be close with him. Joe, what do you think?
Physique wise, I have him winning. The only kind of asterisk I'll put there is the legal trouble he's in at the moment. I hope they don't penalise him for that.
Say that again, sorry.
Is the legal trouble that him and his wife?
I
hope they don't penalise him for that. Have you heard about that?
I have. Do you want to just give everyone a brief overview on that.
Yeah, their house got raided. They got a warrant out. The police raided their house. They're living in America at the moment, where possession of steroids is illegal. So the police went in, and to be honest, I watched a video on it earlier actually that showed the report, and they didn't really find that much, and most of it was in communal areas of the house. What tipped them off was these fucking idiots ordered it from their source in Canada with their names on and signed for it. So his wife signed for it. So they went in and they found like 8 vials total or something, like not a huge amount, not enough where they're going to be suspected of being dealers, but it is illegal. And given that most of it was in communal areas, kitchen and bathroom and stuff like that, that will all likely be put on his wife because it's her name on the package. So it won't be put on Ian because it's not like it was in Ian's car or whatever. But also in the house was Chris Bumstead. And also on one of the packages was the name of an employee of Revive, Matt Jansen's company.
Ouch.
So it's all a bit of a shit situation.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the day I found out, I saw a document that it really, it wasn't about like what they found in the house, but the actual package was a pretty considerable amount, right? Like I think I saw like 100 grams of Trenace, 140 grams of Trenace, 100 plus grams of like Test P, a good amount of Anavar. It was like 5 or 6 compounds. I think halotestin was in there. And it wasn't an absurd amount. I think it probably totaled up into like maybe something like 500 grams of total gear, which isn't a small amount. But I think that when you get a package like that, they're like, oh shit, we're gonna bust in their house and they're gonna have kilos of the shit, or hundreds of vials like made, which didn't happen. And I don't know. And it's tough too because when you have a few 100 plus grams of gear, in theory it could be personal use, but that's a lot of fucking gear.
I think Nick Trigilli did a video on it, and he managed to request the report that the sheriff of the county wrote on the findings, and at least in that report it was about 6 to 9 vials of Tren, about a similar of Test and Mast, and some Anavar, and then some stuff like finasteride and that kind of thing. So it wasn't that much enough where they're worried, but it's like, what are they going to make an example of him? How are they going to treat it? Because in America, the laws are much more strict. There was actually a very well-known UK IFBB pro that got his house raided and busted with a shitload of growth hormone and stood up in court and essentially said, look at the size of me, this is all for personal use, and was let off. But in the UK, the laws are far more relaxed on it. Possession isn't illegal. And apparently, I don't think it is in Canada either. But the problem is they're down in Florida on a visa. So how are they gonna be treated?
I think you bring up a good point though, like, and granted the allegations were much more serious, but man, who won the Olympia like a few years ago that had the
Roden.
Sean Roden, and a lot of times
they stripped his title for that.
And I didn't follow up on that, but the charges were dropped, no? Or
I believe so, yeah. He's not been charged.
And it's just like, even just kind of having stuff tied to your name that's negative, and I mean the IFBB, even though it's well known and it's still taboo, and they don't want gear tied to them, So I mean, they might penalize him for it. I don't know. I mean, maybe not, since most of it is around Melissa because her name is on all the reports.
I think she definitely took the rap for it, whether that was planned or just the way it played out. And I think it was swept under the rug quite efficiently. Obviously you had your fucking Generation Irons and whatever trying to make it as big as possible. But I think whatever they've done, or I think it's run its course, and I hope it doesn't effect in any way. But I get
God,
it.
yeah.
It would be a massive loss, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it's
huge.
really
It would be a
good.
massive
Lose
disappointment.
Ian and Chris Bumstead for it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that would suck. We don't want that.
Well, they would have
all right.
kept Chris out of it as much as possible, just because he is more of a everyday person sensation. There'll be a bunch of YouTube followers of his that think he's natural and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I think they were very smart about it too. Like none of them have made comments on it, acknowledged it, as far as I've seen.
No.
You know, you wouldn't even know it was happening by their Instagram posts.
Yeah.
And at least within this community, I mean, like if you don't say anything, like I mean, there was a whole Shelby Starnes debacle and stuff recently, right? He just didn't say anything, and it goes away in like a week or two. There's something else to pay attention to. So I think that's his name not being directly on it, man, and them being smart, not talking. And I'm sure the people at NPC IFBB were just like, hey, man, like let's just not talk about it. Don't make any posts. Like let's see if this just goes away.
Yeah. All right, awesome. So we'll go to the last guy now. Akeem,
Fifth.
You think he's going to miss his peak?
No, I just the third, fourth, fifth going to be very. I mean, all of it's going to be very close.
Yeah.
I just don't look at him and think, yeah, he's beating so and so and he's beating so and so. I don't know. I think, especially the last pictures I saw of him, he had very obvious oil in his lats, and that got posted about quite a bit. He had some big lumps in either lat.
Yeah, he did.
He is massive, but somehow his lat spread, there's a massive gap there.
You can see it there.
Very high
Roll
lats.
up that magazine cover photo.
Yeah. He's a bit like Nathan. He's very, very high lats.
Oh, yeah.
Long torso.
And a long, thin midsection.
Has he ever torn
That's
them?
not a good pose from, is it?
No,
That's
he's
not
not.
a good cover.
Has he ever
Christ.
torn
He
his
could drop his shoulders a bit more.
Not that we know of, I don't think.
I don't want to talk down on his physique. I think he's got a wicked physique, and I think he could win shows, and he has won shows. I just think, given the quality of the others, I mean, look, if Kuklo doesn't hit his peak, he could easily drop to fifth, and these guys could move up. And I think if Sergio doesn't deliver, that could be him that drops out. But if all of them are bang on, I think probably Sergio and Steve could beat him.
Did Akeem beat Ian by a place last Olympia? Is that how it ended?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I had, right? No, Akeem. Yeah. Akeem beat Ian. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Fairly convincingly as well. Not much in it. It was close between Ian and Hunter.
That's fair. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And
Akeem got beaten by Sergio and Steve at last year's Arnold.
So yeah, I think it's fair to have him in that, fifth, the fourth, third placing. I know once again, I know a couple of reputable people who have got him first.
Okay.
But he has changed to the Camel Crew as a coach, as one of them, or I don't know how it works over there. This year, they're not renowned for bringing the excellent conditioning that he needs to improve. So I think
Am I wrong on this? But has he already dropped the Camel Crew, or is he now with them and he's stayed with them?
I thought he was with him a long time ago and then he left him. I thought that.
I thought he switched again from the Camel Crew.
Then he went to Oscar Arden, who was Kai's old coach.
Yeah.
So I don't know who he's with right now. I can't keep.
You're not. When you say Camel Crew, you're not talking about that Instagram group, right? With that one dude that's a fan of like the deck only cycles and all that.
No, the Kuwaiti guys. You know where Big Ramy, Ruli.
Yeah.
No, that guy's no. I know who you're talking about. I don't want to say his name, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. I was going to say his name then, but I'll stay quiet.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, not that guy. Camel Crew is in the Ramy, Ruli, Brandon Curry crew. Yeah,
you're about to blow my mind, dude.
Imagine getting a physique like that just on Deca. Who would have thought it?
Maybe. Taking a lot of selenium as well, if anyone else gets the reference.
So we're not that impressed with Akeem then?
No, that's not the point. But the quality is so high.
Yeah.
And the gaps between them are so small that if I have to put a number on it, I'd say 4th or 5th.
Yeah, man. Like, if you started with this photo, I would just be like, "Holy shit, wow!"
Right? Yeah,
But
right.
I mean, when you see him, his stage photos and stuff, it's not as great.
Well, the thing is, he's recently seems to have struck gold in terms of his conditioning, a little bit like Ian, and he's getting drier. That was the complaint with him. He was a bit like Lionel Birkey, I think, that he was huge, great shape, but he just wasn't getting in condition. He seems to have got it now. So if he can do that again tomorrow, I think he can be a real threat. Top 3 material.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I definitely don't have him top 3. I mean, and he's another one of these guys that's really fun to look at because like he also has the high lat insertion thing, which actually works really well for him. And his waist looks so tiny. I mean, this is like cartoonish to look at, but also at the same time, that his lats aren't really great, and it just, I don't know, it kind of loses me. Just they're not super symmetrical. It's just like kind of two balls under his arms, in his armpits.
I'll tell you what's strange, though. He's one of the few guys that has put on so much size. He's over 300 in the off-season, and it hasn't harmed his waist that much.
Yeah, waist is tiny.
Yeah,
it's like Nathan Diasher.
Like Nathan and like Juan Morel.
Yeah.
Like in this shot, like that waist, that's crazy. Like a middleweight competitor's waist, almost.
Insane.
He has some a lot of his poses are really strong too, where he's not showing his lats. Like that's insane.
His arms are wicked.
Yeah. I think some of his side poses are nuts too, right?
Oh yeah. Definitely. Because his size of his hams and quads from the side are great.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's like he's listening to us.
That is nasty.
Look at how fucking girthy his fucking.
That's a very good shot there.
Yeah, right there. Look at that.
He has so much meat on his chest.
I think him versus Nick will be a good battle, just because they're both a little shorter, very heavily muscled, good conditions. It'll be interesting to see those. It'll be interesting to see because I think Nick has a smaller frame than him. Bloody hell.
I see Nick beating him just because Nick is more well-rounded. I bet this guy has a lot of poses that crush Nick's and like look way better than Nick's. But like, I mean, when he throws up his arms for a front double or a rear double, it's just a huge flaw in my opinion.
I think his front double looks solid, but his rear double doesn't. Nick's rear double is way better.
Nick's rear double is crazy. Yeah. His rear double in terms of his legs and his quads. Is that what you mean? His legs and his glutes. Is that what you mean?
Just all of it. I think Nick's rear double is so strong. And look at that. I mean, obviously it's off season, but
yeah.
Don't you look at his back and you just sort of feel like he should be able to pull it out more and wider?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I think it's a detail thing with his back. I see it in myself. There's like a part of halfway through prep where I drop 2 or 3 kilos all from my back, and it goes from being terrible to just bad.
I know what you mean.
It's a significant improvement. You'd think that his would sort of do the same. I don't know.
I get that as well. Yeah.
Before I saw this photo right here, I'd say sometimes it's a lack of detail in the back, but this maybe it just is those highlight insertions. Like
his lats are wide, but they finish so high up.
Yeah.
Like his hamstrings are absolutely peeled there, but Nick's hamstrings and glutes and just legs overall from the back look so much more saturated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good shout. Maybe Akeem in 5th and Nick in 4th.
Yeah, just from a structural point of view.
It's crazy to look at this guy's back because like under like his like teres major and stuff and the very top of his lat, once you get under that and you get under that shoulder blade, it's like there's no muscle. It looks like there's no muscle there.
Just low back.
Yeah, it's just
they just stop. Like it's crazy.
It's like Have you seen that TikTok thing that's going around at the moment where like the pause line goes and then like they elongate the body and then it goes again?
Yeah.
That looks like what they've done to this photo.
And it's crazy. Like that last photo we were looking at, like if you covered the top half and looked at the legs, you'd be like, oh man, like once you uncover the top half, you're just going to be so shredded and there's going to be so much detail, but it's not.
No,
I agree.
no, it's not.
Right then, is it game time?
Yeah. So in terms of placings, I mean, I'm going to put him. I would say, relative to everyone else, I'm putting him about sort of fourth-ish, just from a structural point of view. But I think he's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I'm going to go fifth, and my full placings that I'm going to lock in right now.
Okay.
Ian first.
Right.
Sergio second.
Yeah.
Kuklo third. I'm going to be nice and put Nick fourth, and I'm going to put Akeem fifth. After really going into it today, I think Nick will beat Akeem on the lower the back half that we've just talked about.
Okay. Yeah. Solid. I'm going to go with. I'm going to go ahead with Nick taking it, which is, I know it's going to bite me in the ass because I'm then going to put Ian second. I'm going to have Sergio third and being very sore about it. Then Akeem, I think, will beat Kuklo. And then after that, it's a toss-up between Justin and Max. But I think, that's my top five. Joe, Paulie, whichever one wants to go first. It's a tough question.
You go first, Joe.
Okay, I've got Ian first.
Nice.
Nick second. I'm getting stuck on third and fourth. I'll say Sergio third.
Yeah.
Kuklo fourth. And Akeem fifth.
Nice.
I got I feel pretty comfortable putting Ian first. And then I'd probably give second and third potentially to Olivia and Nick. I think they could come in either. And then I'd probably also tie fourth and fifth with Kuklo and Akeem.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout.
I think all this proves is how fucking solid this first call out top five is going to be. I imagine they're going to get worked like 50 rounds of posing.
Yeah.
I wonder which one of them of the group is going to miss their peak and drop all the way out of it, because they're so close. Someone wouldn't have to miss by much to be suddenly completely out of the draw.
Yeah, that's
from a fan's perspective, we've got all this with Hadi, Rami, and the rest in like 2 weeks' time. It's going to be amazing. So I'm pumped. Yeah, it's going to be good. But right, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. And I'm going to call it there. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but that was awesome. And I'll see you guys later.
Catch you soon.
Nice to meet you all.
Ian for the win.
Let's go, Nick.